Broadcasting live from the Capital OTB studios, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow.
Good morning and welcome to Racing Across America. I am Seth Merrow. Thanks for joining us. Thanks also to our friends at Gulfstream Park for their sponsorship during the championship meet, which winds up next weekend. We appreciate their support, and it does wind up the championship meet next weekend, Florida Derby weekend, and we will be live from Gulfstream Park next Friday and Saturday. Looking forward to it. I hop on a jet plane tomorrow, little beach time Monday and Tuesday, and then kick into action Wednesday, Thursday. We'll be taping some stuff. I'll be up at Palm Meadows on Thursday, taping some things at the track, and then tape pieces, live interviews, both Friday and Saturday morning, live from Gulfstream Park. As usual, we expect to be on the Gulfstream Park set out by the paddock prior to their kicking off their pregame show Friday and Saturday. The folks down at Gulfstream always very hospitable towards us. The TV crew's great. Looking forward to getting back down and shooting the breeze with those guys and bringing you some great live programming into a big weekend, because the last couple of years, obviously, the road trips, not just on kind of the business side of things, but everybody out there, it was kind of kicking back their travel, certainly in the first year of the pandemic, and things have loosened up now a little bit, so we're back on the road with OTB TV. Really looking forward to it. Go down and get some insights from Ron and Brian and Acacia and Ashley as well now down there, and also we'll catch up, I would expect, with Mike Welch and maybe Marty McGee and Palm Meadows. We'll catch up with plenty of folks on, the horse racing side of the game. Love to maybe get some thoughts. Todd Pletcher, and I just heard some quick comments after yesterday. Life is good. Love to catch up with him and get his takeaway from yesterday's race, which we'll talk about in a moment. Yesterday, Dubai World Cup Day. We'll hit on a couple of those races. The big day at the Fairgrounds. We'll hit on some of those stakes as well in review. I'll do a little handicapping. It's a nice day down at Tampa. Florida Showcase Day, I believe. But it's a nice stakes afternoon down at Tampa. So during the handicapping segment, we'll hit on that a little bit. And then towards the end of the program, we will be joined by Eric Alwan. He is the announcer out at Sunland Park. And Sunland today, Sunland Park Derby, the Sunland Park Oaks. They have another week of the meet left. So it's the exclamation point, like Fairgrounds wrapping things up today. When there's some stakes action at Fairgrounds today too, after the big day yesterday. But Fairgrounds wraps up this weekend. Sunland wraps up next weekend, so they get the exclamation point to the meet with the Sunland Park Derby today. And so we'll get some thoughts on that in the Oaks with familiar names coming in. Steve Asmussen has some runners, and after the big day yesterday for Asmussen and Rosario, Joe Rosario. And I read somebody commented that they were trying to get some remarks from Rosario after the race, and he was out of there headed to the airport, because after the big day at Fairgrounds yesterday, over to Sunland for the big day there today for Joel Rosario, teaming up again with Steve Asmussen out there. All right, let's kick in Dubai yesterday. I mean, one of the notable takeaways, that we'll look obviously at the World Cup in a moment, and also take a look at the turf, which was, as a horse race goes, that was an incredible race. But we'll take a look in a moment. But just one of the big takeaways, again, from a big international day, Japan is becoming just a wild, incredible force internationally. And it goes back to Breeders' Cup Day, and then subsequent international days, Saudi Cup and whatnot. Japan has just been phenomenal. They had 5 wins yesterday in the Dubai World Cup card. So they are stepping it up, the Japanese runners. And on these big days, you now have to pay particular attention, clearly, to the Japanese runners. And again, that's been a story now. I said it at the time, Eclipse Award night, they announced the NTRA Moment of the Year. And the moment of the year, I thought, it was a funny moment, but the moment was the performance of the Japanese runners at the Breeders' Cup. And so again, it had caught the attention of the racing public then, and it has just continued So as I said, these international racing days now, the Japanese runners, and that has not been the case normally, but now these Japanese runners over the past, going back to the Breeders' Cup, have to get an extra look as you go through your PPs on these kind of days. So that was one of the nice stories, the interesting and notable stories coming out of yesterday. 5 wins for Japanese connections, but also the loss by Life is Good. We'll take a look at the stretch run of the Dubai World Cup. And Life is Good was out, and the announcer was commenting kind of an easy lead, and you had to think, well, he's in good shape. But Country Grammar is going to come from behind. And again, Life is Good's the number 7 out there on the lead. Country Grammar is the number 3. Frankie Dettori was quoted as saying at one point he thought he was kind of racing for 3rd. And then about the 8th hole, he realized, hey, I think I'm going to win this thing. And Country Grammar gets up. Life is Good fades to be disappointing 4th in there. 2nd was Hot Rod Charlie. And getting 3rd, boom, right there is going to be Chawa Wizard from Japan. So a Japanese runner gets up for a nice 3rd there. But it was Country Grammar. Country Grammar coming out of a 2nd in the Saudi Cup, close up 2nd in the Saudi Cup last time. Prior to that had been a winner in the Gold Cup at Santa Anita in May. So fairly lightly raced 5-year-old. This was only career start number 10. Bob Baffert trainee. So Baffert, if you've been reading the news, Bob Baffert, it's going to be very interesting to see how it all shakes out with the 90-day suspension. If you haven't been keeping up with that news, the 90-day suspension was appealed. There were some stays, then the stay was overruled. But the upshot of all this is, with a suspension that long, California rules say that a trainer can no longer keep their stalls, they have to remove their signage, they have to disperse their horses to other trainers that are unrelated to the trainer on suspension. So the Baffert barn is in a pickle, as it were. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out, and horses getting dispersed. Now, some Derby runners were already dispersed a little bit earlier this week. Messier went to Tim Yakteen. That's going to be the interesting one, because there were 4 horses with Derby potential that went to other trainers and have no Derby points because they were related to, trained by Baffert, but going to other trainers now with no Derby points, they're going to have one shot to get into the Derby. And again, Messier, I think a lot of people would have at the top of their list, except for, the no points situation. So going to be interesting to see there. Anyway, Baffert scores, on the potentially way out the door for 3 months on the sidelines. Baffert gets it done. Frankie Dettori on board. And as I say, this horse won the Gold Cup in May and then laid off to February, came back in the Saudi Cup and just missed in the Saudi Cup. Gets it done on Saturday in the Dubai World Cup. Wins just under $7 million. Hot Rod Charlie, as you saw there, got up for 2nd. I like that they shipped him over. He had been over there for a while. He had won a prep race for this at Meydan. I think it paid off nicely. He ran 2nd, but when your purse is $12 million, 2nd was worth about $2.5 million. So it was a pretty good day for Hot Rod Charlie. Again, the Japanese runner, Chua Wizard, runs 3rd. And Life is Good, again, disappoints and runs 4th. And again, the fractions, the announcer was kind of saying, gee, easy lead. And I was talking with some folks last night, and there was a comment that maybe he's a horse who just needs to bottom out a field and needs to be plowing, fast fractions and just kind of send the other ones into submission. Subsequently, and I have it here, the follow-up article in the Racing Form on the Dubai World Cup. It's interesting. I'm thinking it was Marcus Hirsch. I just pulled the quote out. I don't have the byline. Pretty sure it was Marcus Hirsch in the Racing Form. First of all, quotes Todd Pletcher. He says, I thought it looked like he traveled okay. And really, I haven't read too much more than that from Pletcher. So as I say, try to catch up with him down at Gulfstream next week and see if he has any thoughts coming out of the race. But anyway, then Marcus Hirsch goes on to say, if Life is Good was going to get 1.25 miles, it was not going to be over a surface like the one he raced on Saturday. The 1,900-meter UA Derby was a slog, and this was a track that rewarded stamina over brilliance. Life is Good has nothing if not brilliance, and when he couldn't go fast enough to open a lead with 400 meters left, he simply got worn down by horses with more stay. So it was an interesting take on the afternoon and the performance by Life is Good, again from Marcus Hirsch in the Daily Racing Form. We will see what's up next. You know, a lot of times horses go to the sidelines for a little bit longer than you would expect after a race. After a race in Dubai, you know, a race here, there's a certain expectation the next race will come up within this time frame. Coming back from Dubai, it's always a little bit of a question mark because, you know, it's a trip halfway around the world. So we'll see what's up next for Life is Good. We'll look for a rebound again. It looked like, honestly, he wasn't 1.25 mile horse because he was out there, he was on the lead, looked pretty good until about the 8th pole, and then they started to pull him in. But as I say, it was interesting to hear the thought from Marcus Hirsch on the way the track played. Also wanted to take a look at, and as I say, just because this was some fun race, the Dubai Turf yesterday. At the end of Racing Across America yesterday, Mike Callahan jumped in, and he had handicapped the Dubai World Cup for the one sheet. So I had him come in and take a look at some of the races, and there were 3 races left, including this Dubai Turf. He liked Lord North, the number 8 horse, and Lord North winds up dead heating. Panthalassa runs second, Vindegard runs third. But look at this finish. I mean, you talk about a horse race. It doesn't get any better than this. We're looking at the end of a one-turn 1.125 mile race, and they are bing, bang, bing. I thought the horse on the outside was going to wind up being the winner. The horse on the outside, Vindegard, from Japan. I thought he got the bob here when I watched it live. He winds up third, and they took a long, long time to look at that. Look at this finish. This is just incredible. And they took a long, long time to look at the photo. It was Lord North and Panthalassa who eventually were declared dead heat. And man, they looked at it for probably 10 minutes or so. Panthalassa, also a Japanese horse. So one of the 5 winners on the day, a dead heat winner. Lord Glitter, as I say, Mike Callahan liked this one. Lord North, excuse me. Mike Callahan liked this one. This Lord Glitter had, man, look at this. This is just incredible. Lord North had won this race last year, and then had been off on the sidelines until a race at Lingfield in England on February 26th. So it had been off from March of last year till February of this year. And there you see the photo. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better horse race than that. 3 of them right on the line. And if you're not familiar, Lingfield is, you know, it's a wintertime synthetic track, so it's kind of second-tier racing over there. But obviously the horse needed a race to get in race shape for the return to Dubai. Runs second in that prep race on the synthetic at Lingfield. Good enough to set him up for a repeat victory in the Dubai Turf yesterday. Frankie Dettori on board. So Lord North again in a dead heat with the Japanese runners running a dead heat a dead heat win and third in that photo there. So just an incredible, again, one of the stories of the afternoon was the 5 wins by Japan, one of them being that dead heat. But also, you know, Lord North coming back, repeating with the layoff like that. That was a pretty good story. And then just overall, crazy good horse race to have the 3 of them there on the wire. All right, let's go down and take a look also at some of the Fairground Stakes races. And yesterday I had pulled up some video shot Friday by Jenny Reese, Kentucky HBPA. Jenny does a lot of work for them, and a lot of the time she's recording these interviews up in Kentucky. But with the Derby coming up, Jenny grabbed some interviews this weekend down at the Fairgrounds. knowing that horses were going to come out of this race with Derby and Oaks potential. So on the Kentucky side of things, she was getting some work done in prep for that. So Jenny on Friday talked with Steve Asmussen about Echo Zulu and Epicenter and Midnight Bourbon too. Caught up with him Friday at Fairgrounds. But Jenny also caught up with Steve Asmussen after the win yesterday in the Fairground Oaks in the Louisiana Derby. So we're going to take a look at those comments too from Steve Asmussen. But before we get to those, let's take a look at the performance yesterday by Epicenter. And he is putting himself squarely into the picture of Derby favoritism, or right up there amongst it. And normally he's out there on the lead, showed another dimension yesterday, kind of stalking and pouncing pretty successfully. Chart margin is 2.5 lengths. He went off as even money favorite. Zozos ran second, Pioneer of Medina third, and Rattle and Roll fourth. I had those four in a little bit of a juggled up order. I thought Pioneer Medina and Rattle and Roll were very interesting, and Zozos as well. I had Epicenter on top, but I thought the others were a little bit intriguing. So if you played around, maybe you wound up with a little trifecta or superfecta there with those four. But Epicenter got it done, and as I say, firmly puts himself in the conversation of the Derby favorite. We'll see how the last series of preps go out, but I say that because it's a 102 buyer. And given what we've seen so far from the 3-year-olds, that jumps off the page. It was 1 3/16 miles. They've changed that distance of the Louisiana Derby. 1 3/16 miles. You're kind of proving yourself at the Derby distance of 1.25 miles. You're right up there. He did it very nicely, kind of pulling away in the stretch. And that triple-digit buyer, I guarantee, it's hard to imagine there's going to be too many more of those in these final preps. So that triple-digit buyer is going to kind of stand out on the page of Kentucky Derby PP. So Epicenter is going to have a lot of support on Derby weekend off of this performance. And as I say, Jenny Reese was down in the winner's circle after this race yesterday and got some thoughts from Steve Asmussen. So let's check in with that.
He hasn't plateaued, he's continued to get better, and that's required to have success in the 3-year-old races.
Steve, you've had many horses win here. To break a track record, how incredible was it to see that?
He's a very special horse. We haven't won the Derby here since Gun Runner, and for him to, hopefully he can add on to that with the same silks on.
What does it mean to just get 5 wins again today? And I believe you just got off a plane from Dubai?
Today was a very emotional day with, a great 3-year-old prospect in Epicenter and the champion Echo Zulu coming back. On a few of the undercard horses ran really big, set the table for him, but for, Echo Zulu, very emotional for us. Everything she did for us last year, her first race of the year, to be in a race as prestigious as the Fairgrounds Oaks, and then Epicenter to cap off the meet. You're here for this race, for the development of the 2 turning 3-year-olds, and leaving here as happy as we can be, and we feel in great shape.
Where do you guys go?
Churchill Downs will be where this stable goes.
As far as Epicenter from here to the Derby, what does this training look like and things like that?
Well, we feel, great. He's won at Churchill and spent a lot of time training there. So he'll leave here Monday and he'll return to training at Churchill Downs on his normal schedule. And we'll look at the weather a little bit as far as exactly what days of the weeks we want to get into a routine with him. Love the 6-week intervals that he's having and how he's responded to it. And we're very familiar with how he did train in the fall at Churchill, and we're going back with more horses there.
Should the Fairgrounds Oaks be a grade 1?
I've won it with many a grade. Thank you. She's won 3 grade 1s. She adds 2 out of 5 races. We've won it with Untappable, Summerly, and the horses that have won it, and their record off of these races. Clairiere running second in it, and what she's done since, they've proven that they're grade 1 caliber horses.
Steve, going into this race, you liked the mile 3/16 that they had the end, and
love,
coming out, I guess you like it even better.
You know, I love the progression and the opportunity that it is. I mean, it just the simulation of that long, of how much you're asking for position with horses at a mile and a 16th race when you first start going 2 turns, to the progression of how, you know, the run of a 3/16 on a mile racetrack, which is so similar to the Derby. You watch the mile and a quarter of the Derby, and they used to sending them away from there because the turn's coming right up, and 22 and change they go because it's all straight. So I just feel very confident in what this horse's state of mind, and he's aware of what's going to be expected of him going forward.
We talked after the last race about the filly being in sort of a dog fight for the first time since maybe her first race, and that could be good going forward. What about this race and the development of this horse, the things you mentioned, you know, about not having to have the lead, but that you like best about this race looking ahead?
You know, trip handicapping, I mean, the Risen Star, that's where you wanted to be, and that's how you wanted, and he took advantage of it. And I thought watching the races today, the rail in the lead was a good spot by our previous winners, but for the confidence Joel showed in him to teach him something and win $1 million race is very rewarding.
Were you hoping the race would maybe unfold where he could get that kind of experience?
I thought Florent on Zulos would defend the rail. You know, he won the first running of this race at a mile 3/16 with Wells in a very similar fashion, and he kicked him on away from there, and as expected, they went solid fractions, you know, not ridiculous, but solid. 3/4 and 11 here is very respectable, and I thought Epicenter tracked nicely and wasn't ranked, and moved to him when asked and looked good through the wire.
I understand why it's such an emotional thing with Echo Zulu, but why is this such an emotional win for you with Epicenter?
Well, because I'm 0 for 26 in the Kentucky Derby, and he's a great chance, and I really want to win it. You know, it just feels, you know, you just, the construction or building blocks are in place for success, and that's what we're trying to do all the time.
A big day for Steve Asmussen and Joel Rosario. 5 wins on the day down there for that team. So it was just a great end to the Fairgrounds meet. And, you know, he had plans for Epicenter down there at the Fairgrounds. They played out very well. And Echo Zulu was down there throughout the meet working. Echo Zulu ran in the Oaks yesterday, came in 4 for 4. But all in the 2-year-old season. She wins the Eclipse Award. We saw her up here at Saratoga break the maiden last July, come back at the end of the meet in the spin-away, win that, down to Belmont, win the Frizette, and then out to Del Mar to win the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Filly. So she was 4 for 4, all kinds of promise, but off from November until early November to the end of March. How would she come back? We'll take a look at the stretch run. She came back successfully, but had to work for it. Echo Zulu's the number 1 horse here under Joel Rosario. She is 10 cents to the dollar. At 9 to 1, Hidden Connection, the number 6 horse. Raylu Gutierrez, again, having a really fun, good meet down there. Gave her all she could ask for. The chart margin, chart margin is a nose, but on the record, 5 for 5 now for Echo Zulu. Again, she had to gut it out and work for it. Running third favor, 4 Turner Loose. You would think both of these horses now head on to the, you know, Kentucky Oaks, and Connections probably feel pretty good with that margin. I thought Hidden Connection was the likely alternative if you were taking another shot. Ran 4th in the Rachel Alexandra in the prior start. I thought she was better than that. I look forward to rebound. She did yesterday. I will say the number, maybe a little bit light. It was an 88 buyer. So we will see certainly a light number for Echo Zulu. But it was the first start of a long layup. Again, down in the winner's circle, Steve Asmussen had some comments on Echo Zulu as well. So let's see what he thought of the performance yesterday.
Were you confident at the wire that she had won?
I mean, yeah, she looked like everything was easy for her, and it looked like a lot. You know, the last
stretched and she kind of got a little tired. She haven't run for a little while. And I mean, but she got the job done, so she's an amazing horse.
First time she had to be in a dogfight, and she was like pressed the whole way there.
Yeah, she is. It looked like she got down there and then she didn't want to get big. So that a lot of credit to her.
Champion 2-year-old season, gave her a break, and she came back spot on and wins the Fairgrounds Oaks off a layoff. What a tremendous filly she is.
How have you seen her come on?
Everybody's about the same. I mean, she just was such a brilliant filly last year. She's really got a straightforward attitude. Just come see you, willing to train, willing to see what you're doing, and just I'm wanting more of the same.
How has Epicenter looked since being your last?
Epicenter's done wonderful here at the Fairgrounds. He came down in, settled well. Every one of his works all winter long. One's looked better than the next. He's had a solid run. Great win in the Gun Runner, narrow loss in the LeComp, and then looked great in the Risen Star. But we today Louisiana Derby, $1 million, mile and 3/16. It's got to keep adding to what you're doing.
Well, you probably most about Echo that she was able to. She was in a big fight.
Off a layoff, just not giving it to her, knowing the fillies are up to speed. She got a break and off the bench to compete at this level. When's the Fairgrounds Oaks a prep? You know what I mean? It's the Fairgrounds Oak, and it's the great 3-year-old fillies that have won, the multiple great 3-year-old fillies that have won that. She's on the list now. We're very proud of that.
Is she a once in a lifetime kind of? I mean, I know you've had some truly great ones.
Well, she hasn't done what Rachel's done, but she sure doesn't have any blemishes, so we're very proud of her.
What about the Kentucky Oaks? Because I know going into earlier this year,
what we see today, she'll go to Churchill on Monday, as expected, and she'll go with the Fairgrounds Oaks trophy in the van with her. She's got that on her resume, and we'll train her there, and she'll answer the question.
And developing on along, was it just as well the race turned out the way it did today versus another one of her easy wins by 5, 6, 7, 8?
She was off the bridle and tested. She was, her first race last year and her main race was the hardest she was ridden. Hopefully that's the case again this year, Could not do it. The races will dictate. Having her back running, great day, beautiful weather, fast racetrack.
4 wins.
No excitement. You know what I mean? The answering the bell. She did all of that as a 4-year-old, but what did it take out of her? For her to come over this environment, it's a big day. Not sneaking up, not, took the pressure, responded, and it's the Fairgrounds Oaks winner.
So Steve Asmussen heading to Kentucky with a live hand Oaks Derby. Big day yesterday for him at the Fairgrounds, but again, he is also heading to Kentucky with some very nice runners. Certainly Epicenter looking good yesterday, and Echo Zulu on the comeback. A little bit earlier on the card, the Miniz Memorial. I like Devamani for Chad Brown. I had the other Chad underneath, Sacred Life. 2 Emmys I had down at the bottom of my mix. 2 Emmys looked like the speed of the race. That's the way it played out in the Miniz. 2 Emmys is going to be the number 8 horse, 24 and change, 49 and change, 113. They couldn't catch this one off of those fractions. I was a little bit surprised. The 9 Santon, lightly raced runner for Brendan Walsh, went off as the 2-1 favorite. I was just surprised the favoritism for that one. Number 4, you can see the West Point Silks there. Cavalry Charge winds up running 3rd for the folks at West Point. And the 2 Chad Brown runners that I liked, they were too far back early. Sacred Life 4th, Devamani 5th. They were just too far back. They closed a little ground in the stretch, but had far too much to do late. But it was a nice win for 2 Emmys. 2 Emmys, James Graham on board, meet leading rider. Talked a little bit about that yesterday with Joe Christofek, a veteran rider. Fun to see him having the great meet down there. Trained by Hugh Robertson. The follow-up article in the Racing Form, it was interesting. We're going to watch Olympiad in just a second. Olympiad trained by Bill Mott, and 2 Emmys trained by Hugh Robertson. And it said after the win by 2 Emmys, Bill Mott came into the winner's circle and was reminiscing a little bit with Hugh Robertson, reminiscing about their early days in the industry. I guess they bunked together on the Nebraska fair circuit early on. So they were kind of reminiscing and joking about that a little bit in the winner's circle at Fairgrounds yesterday. Nice little side story. As promised, we'll take a look at the New Orleans Classic. Olympiad goes off as the 3-5 favorite and lives up to it, the number 2 horse here. Again, continuing that trend of the past few months of some of last year's 3-year-olds coming back as 4-year-olds and looking really good. Speaker's Corner, Olympiad in the Bill Mott barn, continuing a nice run over the past couple of months for the Mott barn. And Olympiad yesterday gets it done, and he gets it done with a 103 buyer. By the way, 2 Emmys in the turf race, a 102 buyer, but this is a 103 buyer for Olympiad. So pretty solid so far this season. Won an optional claimer down at Gulfstream, then the Mine Shaft last time with a 102. Yesterday, the New Orleans Classic with a 103 buyer. So Olympiad going to be fun to watch this year, and obviously out of the Bill Mott barn. We will get to see this one in New York and theoretically up at Saratoga as well. So looking forward to it. All right, let's take a break. We'll do a little handicapping. I think I'll take a look at some of those stakes over at Tampa because, and I looked it up during one of the breaks. I said Florida Classic Day or Florida Showcase Day. I think I speculated it's actually Florida Cup Day down at Tampa today, but some nice stakes over at Tampa. So we'll do a little preview of those, and then in a few minutes we will be joined by Eric Alwan of Sunland Park, because today they also have some nice stakes, including the Sunland Park Derby and the Sunland Park Oaks. So all of that right after this. Stay tuned.
Where's the best place to find your favorite teams, your favorite food, daily drink specials, and wagering on live horse racing? Legends Field Sports Bar, 711 Central Avenue, Albany. Get your game on day or night with 75 flat-screen TVs, tournament-style pool tables, a private banquet room, and live horse racing. So if someone asks you, where's the best sports bar in the capital region? Tell them Legends Field Sports Bar, inside the Clubhouse Racebook, 711 Central Avenue, Albany.
Capital OTB is now streaming live on Roku. The RTN Racing channel on Roku lets you watch OTB TV live through your Roku device or your Amazon Fire Stick, rather than being limited to computers and mobile devices, which means you can now watch OTB live wherever you are. Simply open Roku, scroll to find the RTN channel, then click on OTB TV. OTB TV on Roku. Try it now.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. Let's do a little handicapping again. Florida Cup Day over at Tampa. Some nice stakes action for Florida breds. The 9th race today is the Turf Classic. I have it 8, 5, 4, and 1. Again, this is the 9th at Tampa. Shamrocket is clearly going to be the one to beat. Kind of an interesting end to last year, beginning to this year. Nice stakes performer last year. And then they started the season, the Sunshine Millions Classic, on the dirt in January. This is far more of a turf performer. And so they were experimenting a little bit on the dirt, the decent little purse, and why not give that one a shot? And it just seemed like they outclassed the competition. So moved over to the dirt and ran well and won that dirt race. And then they came back in less than a week in the Sunshine Turf, but it wound up being moved to the synthetic. And the horse, week's rest, synthetic, ran 3rd in there. Got back to the turf last time, ran a good 2nd in the stake over, grade 2 over at Gulfstream. I think in this kind of a situation, Shamrocket the one to beat. But we're going to take a look at a replay here of a horse, I think, if you're looking for an alternative and maybe a little bit of value, and this 9th race will kick off a late pick 4, I think Freedom Matters might be interesting. This is a replay of a starter allowance at Gulfstream. Freedom Matters is the number 6 horse. You're going to see A nice effort from this horse to close and get up late to win by half a length. Comes over from Gulfstream for Safi Joseph. And as I say, off of this race and in this particular field, I think Freedom Matters could be a little bit interesting. If you're looking for a little bit of value, 6-1 on the morning line. We'll see if that holds up. But in that Turf Classic, I have it 8, 5, 4, and 1. And again, the 5, Freedom Matters, is the one that is interesting if you're looking for a little value to maybe kind of kick things off in your late pick 4 sequence over at Tampa today. In the 10th race, the Distaff Turf, I have it 6, 3, 1, and 2. Shifty She comes out of the Pegasus World Cup filly and mare turf and ran 3rd that day. Has a lot of early speed. You would think that'll be the game plan in here. There's some others that tend to have at least a little positional speed. I think the speed of the speed will be Shifty She. And coming out of that Pegasus and good close-up third in a close-up second, in a grade 3, 2 starts back. I think, again, in this kind of restricted state-bred stakes race, pretty solid fit, and Shifty She probably the one to beat. But our Flash Drive, I think, can be a player for Mark Cassie, also stepping out of good tries and open stakes company. Onyx could be a little bit of a player as well, coming over from Gulfstream. But I'm going to take a look here. We're going to go back to Sunshine Filly and Mare Turf back on January 22nd. The winner here is going to be number 6, Lovely Lovey. 10-1 on the morning line. Javier Castellano is scheduled to come over to ride, and it's a Safi Joseph runner coming over from Gulfstream. This is the performance 2 starts back, subsequently followed up in the Honey Fox and was a little bit disappointing. But Lovely Lovey has this kind of talent. Obviously, this was on the synthetic, but has decent turf form underneath as well. Probably has to step it up a little bit. But at 10-1 for that one, as opposed to 3-5 for Shifty She, Lovely Lovely becomes the other Safi Joseph runner. And we all know those kind of horses are always worth taking a second look at. The uncoupled, the longer half of the uncoupled entry. So again, for me in that 10th, I have it 6, 3, 1, and 2. But the 2 could be a little bit intriguing on those factors. Finally, race number 11 this afternoon at Tampa Bay Downs is the Sprint. 6 furlongs is the trip. I have it 5, 4, 3, and 7. And I can remember we had Mark Cassie on the show going back, this is a while. I want to say it was before this race last year where he talked about this horse. And Mark Cassie was kind of high on Tap It to Win. We're going to go back 1 year and take a look at this very race, the Sprint, on Florida Cup Day last year down at Tampa. And Tap It to Win is going to be the number 5 horse in here. Going to get it done and get it done pretty easily as the 4-5 favorite. Subsequently, Tap It to Win, had a couple of starts at Churchill, then went up and tried Stakes Company up at Woodbine, winning a grade 3 up there back in September, but hasn't quite lived up to what we saw on this day last year. However, I think on the return to Tampa, on the return to this kind of competition, we're looking at 4-1. If that holds up, I think Tap It to Win is really intriguing this afternoon in the Florida Cup Sprint stake today. So I have it 5 in that 11th. I have it 5, 4, 3, and 11. But I'm just going to be interested to see, 1 for 1 over the track. The win we just saw, and it was this race last year, has been training down at Palm Meadows, has been training pretty well. I'm intrigued to see if the home cooking at Tampa is what appeals to Tap It to Win. Maybe a little bit of a horse for a course angle at work there. We'll see how that works out. We will be taking a look at those races as well a little bit later on this afternoon. We'll take a break now, and as promised, again, Florida Cup Day, nice stakes races down in Tampa. But there's also a big day out at Sunland Park. It's the Sunland Park Derby, the Sunland Park Oaks. There'll be some familiar names amongst the jockeys and the trainers out there this afternoon with the big money event up for grabs. So as promised, after the break, we will be joined by Eric Alwan from Sunland Park to give you a little preview. Derby and Oaks out in the Southwest on this Sunday afternoon. Stay tuned. Having trouble finding us? It's actually quite simple. Whether online or on your TV, it's never been easier to watch and wager on championship horse racing with Capital OTB. Simply log on to capitalotbbet.com. There you can watch our morning shows, live stream races, and wager on our state-of-the-art wagering platform. You can also watch from the comfort of your home on Spectrum Cable Channel 1250 or Fios Channel 467, and win more with Capital OTB.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
Birdstone is an outside threat. They're coming down to the finish. Can Smarty Jones hold on? Here comes Birdstone. Birdstone surges past. Birdstone wins the Belmont Stakes. In front, but here comes High Chaparral. High Chaparral, the defending champ, to take it to Bob. These two arch rivals head to head with Joe Hart bearing down on them. It's going to be a three-horse photo finish in the turn. Here's the wire. Photo finish.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. As promised before the break, we are joined now by Eric Alwan from Sunland Park. Eric, good morning.
Good morning, Seth. Thank you so much for having us on your show.
Happy to have you on. We were talking a little bit during the break. Happy to have you on to talk a little 50-point race out at Sunland, the Sunland Derby, and things that got kind of the season in the home stretch, another week or so, I believe. And before we get into some specifics on today, give us a little update on what your weather looks like today.
Oh, just absolutely spring-like. I mean, it's going to be in the mid-80s. The track is fast, no wind. I mean, ultimate conditions really exist. And we're so thrilled to be able to put the race on because due to the pandemic, we were closed for a couple of years. This will be the first Sunland Derby since 2019.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
So
it's great to have racing
it's a good
back.
rebound.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And for folks who are maybe going to jump in and play a little bit today with that Sunland Derby towards the end of the card, Sunland Oaks as well, for folks who maybe aren't paying attention as much during the rest of the year, give us a little thought on maybe some of the human connections on the undercard we might want to pay attention to. Who's rolling at the current meet?
You know, I really like some of those restricted New Mexico bred races. You know, for example, we've got New Mexico bred females going today at a route distance, and there's been this superstar filly called Belladonna, and she's going to try to win her second straight, route race, and she did so last time out with Ease. So it's going to be really hard to run her down. But there is an up-and-comer in the race for trainer Gary Cross, and that's Corinna, who was trying to chase down Belladonna the last time they matched stride. So I think if you want an exacta box from heaven, the eighth race, the New Mexico Breeders' Oaks, is that because Belladonna will be pressing, Corinna will be closing.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at the PPs here, and those are a couple of nice horses. Belladonna, 7 for 8 with a second place finish. And Corinna has been in the exacta 5 times in 6 starts. So those are a couple of pretty nice New Mexico breds for sure. Let's move out to the highlight of the afternoon, the Sunland Park Derby. It'll be race number 11, a mile and an eighth. Again, 50 points to the winner up for grabs in here, or 50-point race, let me put it that way. And I'm going to pull up and take a look at the Mind That Bird Derby going back to February 27th because we have some of the runners coming back in here. Straight Up G, the number 6 is the winner. Number 2, Bye Bye Bobby, runs second. And number 8, Classic Moment for Steve Asmussen, runs third. They all look very interesting again this afternoon. but you also have Slow Down Andy, who comes in for Doug O'Neill, and I'm looking at his PPs, and 2 starts back, Slow Down Andy beat a little horse called Messier. So this is a fun addition when you have a horse like that, and Asmussen and Rosario in there with Classic Moment. Give us some thoughts on the Derby.
I think the appearance of Slow Down Andy in our Sunland Derby really gives the Racing Star appeal. From what I've read on the quotes on the Daily Racing Forum, they sort of were thinking a lot about the Sunland Park Derby, about a month or two ago. And even though Slow Down Andy didn't run all that well in the Risen Star, look who beat him, Epicenter. I mean, that horse might be the favorite for the Derby right now.
Yeah.
After the way he ran yesterday in the Louisiana Derby. But the telltale sign, what made them shift their attention away from Bluegrass to our race, was that workout that Slow Down Andy had. March 19th at Santa Anita. 112-2, handily from the gate, with the addition of blinkers. But like you just said, Seth, I mean, this horse beat Messier. I mean, that's pretty darn good for us here at Sunland to have a horse like that in our Derby. But clearly, the speediest horse in the race is Jim Rome's horse, Straight Up G. But hey, look, you have to make a decision. Do you think that he was getting tired in the Minette Bird Derby? Or was he just so far in front that you just cruise home? It's debatable, And here's another thing to think about. The Derby and the Oaks today are Lasix-free events. No Lasix used on any horses. It seemed to me that Straight Up G liked Lasix last time out. It was the first time he ever used it. But Slow Down Andy doesn't appear to need it.
Yeah, that's a great point about the Lasix, certainly. But I'll also toss out, I mentioned it earlier, and you alluded to yesterday at the Fairgrounds. I mean, are Asmussen and Rosario on a little bit of a roll after the 5 wins yesterday? And it just, some barns have momentum, and I wonder if that's going to elevate Classic Moment a little bit.
Sure could. I wouldn't leave them out of pick 4s and pick 5s. I don't know what quite style they want to use today, I mean, certainly Straight Up G going to probably get the lead. Is he going to be hounded by the favorite Slow Down Andy in Classic Moment? Or will, Classic Moment try to take back a little bit, make a middle move? Traditionally, this Sunland Derby is usually won by a horse that is within a length or two of the lead, at the half-mile marker. I mean, you need some speed. Could there be a meltdown in the pace today? I don't think so with these great riders. Mario Gutierrez, riding Slow Down Andy for Doug O'Neill. Doug O'Neill's won our Sunland Derby twice, in the past, with Excessive Pleasure in the first edition, some 19 years ago, and Thor's Echo. It's interesting, but one good thing about, the betting layout here is that even though I think Slow Down Andy's a confirmed favorite, I don't think he's going to be a super favorite, because there's going to be money, drawing attention, to Classic Moment, and certainly a lot of money going the way of Straight Up G.
Yeah.
And there's no Baffert, equation. Every time Baffert comes to the Sunland Derby, whoever the horse is, he's been pounded. But he's not here this year.
I'm just looking, Straight Up G, Jungle Racing. Is that Jim Rome?
Yes, sir. That's Jim Rome.
Nice.
He was so thrilled when he won. He talked about it on the show. He even had my race call on his television show. It was really great. We got a lot of media attention, nationally because of it. And the horse is very striking and fast.
I pulled up yesterday, you were talking, there was a YouTube video, I think you were on a radio show, but there was a YouTube video of it where you're talking a little bit about this race and mentioned some possible horses, I guess that maybe put in underneath at a price. And you talked a little bit about 15-1 on the morning line, Chrome King, coming out of the Turf Paradise Derby win.
I know. This horse is night and day difference than what he was probably, He ran here.
Yeah.
Seth, in the Riley Allison Derby. Got dusted by some 13 lengths to Pepper Spray and the local favorite, which is Bye Bye Bobby, who was second in both the Riley Allison Minette Bird Derby and coming in both races. But then this Chrome King looked like a different animal. He beat a horse called Miniz, who's pretty darn good, well ranked and established, and had run against Straight Up G before, and he just blew by him in Phoenix at the Turf Paradise Derby. I didn't think it was a great race, at the time, but he beat a 1-9 favorite in Phoenix in that race, and just did it so convincingly. And I mean, to further give him some credibility, he was given the victory in a StarTech Stakes at Turf Paradise, a turf event. So actually, he's on a 2-stakes full. Yeah, I would use him.
Yeah,
a little bit.
And you would have to think the price will hold up, and he may add a little bit of value underneath and whatnot. So one to think about. All right, let's take a look a little bit earlier on the card. The Sunland Park Oaks scheduled field of 10 in here, and kind of fun. And again, with the familiar names being notable of Asmussen and Rosario, optionality. Last couple of starts. Well, the last start, the Honeybee at Oaklawn was just clearly a disappointment. Ran decently behind Secret Oath in the Martha Washington, however. Secret Oath was also the winner of the Honeybee, but that's certainly notable, a second to Secret Oath and how good she's turned out to be. But I'm going to go back and pull up a replay. December 17th, the Trapeze. Optionality is going to be the number 12 horse here. That day, Jose Ortiz was on board out at Remington Park. Today, again, it's Joel Rosario. I have a feeling we're getting closer to this performance than what we saw last time at Oaklawn. But Queen of Thorns comes in for Peter Urton, off a couple of starts so far in the career at Santa Anita. And Miss Hard Knocks could be the local choice in here, coming off of a win that I assume was kind of a prep for this, the Island Fashion last time. I think it's a fun race. What are your thoughts on the Oaks?
I think you got it targeted perfectly. Those are the three that I would use. And, how great is Secret Oath? She's a monster filly, and she's destroyed the fillies and mares at Oaklawn, and she's going to run against the boys in the Arkansas Derby. I don't know what happened to Optionality in the Honeybee. All she's got to do today, Seth, is run the way that she did in Martha Washington when she was at least second to Secret Oath. And she usually sips very well. This won't be the first time that she's been in New Mexico. She raced at Hobbs at Zia Park, in a $50,000 stakes, I believe it was, and beat up a pretty good filly that is in our race today, Tyler's Dream. She's capable of running well without LASIK, and her buyers are usually, in the high 70s, mid 80s. I think that would get the job done. And if there was anything wrong with her, Steve wouldn't bring her here, so he must feel confident enough. I looked at Queen of Thorns replay in the Las Virgenes at Santa Anita. That's a monster that beat her that day, eating some 13 lengths, so that's a lot of distance. But we're glad to have her here because she's, stakes place, graded stakes place. Peter Urton, good trainer in California, is bringing her in. But the horse for course is Miss Hard Knocks for Bart Hone. All she does is just, hammer her competition. But her buyers are significantly lower than Optionalities. 10 points lower. So,
Optionality.
I think it's those three.
It looks like it's a draw line through the race, that Honeybee, and if she gets back to, as you say, her prior races, she looks very. But it's a fun race on a fun card that, as I say, is kind of putting an exclamation point on the season. Another week or so down there. And just before we let you go, give us a little recap of the season overall. As they say, I've been on the sidelines for a while with the pandemic. What's it been like, and what's it been like for the fans down there? And give us a little follow-up as you are now reaching the home stretch, so to speak, of the Sunland Park season.
Quite a triumphant return.
Nice.
We scheduled a rather condensed meet for our standards, only 55 race days. There were a lot of issues that it was difficult to get help, difficult to get, hire people. And despite all of that, we were blessed with great weather, and we're up both on and off track. We've seen some tremendous performances. There's a little horse called Mind That Star. And believe it or not, he's a half brother to Mind That Bird. He was once sold for almost $1 million. And then he had some hard times and was picked up by Judge Lanier Racing, for much, much less than that. And he's won 2 of the 3 older stakes races that we have for routers, the Wincham Lad and the Kirabo. And he's probably going to win the Sunland Park Handicap a week from yesterday, just 6 days away. So I've really been thrilled to call him. Big, good-looking thing. You know, nothing like the way mine that bird looked. You know, so kind of streamlined and, you know, not quite so fast, but a great finisher. This one's just, you know, a massive, good-looking thing.
Yeah, nice. The racing story kind of comes full circle. I like that. Eric, appreciate the thoughts, and again, wish you and everybody good luck on the remainder of the season, but certainly this afternoon with the Derby and the Oaks. Again, a couple of fun races. We'll be taking a look from our side of the country. Appreciate the comments, and we'll talk again.
Seth, thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
We're going to have a big day.
Yeah, looking forward to it. Eric Alwan from Sunland Park again this afternoon. Sunland Park Derby, Sunland Park Oaks, and as I say, familiar names with Asmussen and Joel Rosario out there as well in both of those races. All right, I'm going to wrap it up for this Sunday edition of Racing Across America. Again, an hour and a half or so. We will be back with the Sunday afternoon edition of OTB Live as we're getting ready to wrap up the week and lead into Florida Derby week. And I do want to keep reminding you, and I'll do it this afternoon as well, we will be live from Gulfstream Park Friday and Saturday morning. So mark that on your calendar. Particularly, I keep mentioning it because Friday morning isn't one of our normal mornings. So do remember, and this is not an April Fool's joke, but it is April 1st. But we will be live from Gulfstream Park. Looking forward to it. Again, we're going to head down this week, and Thursday we'll make our usual visit over to Palm Meadows, grab some interviews there, some interviews on the track. We'll have some live guests, obviously, on the set. We'll do some handicapping with a handicapper support live from Gulfstream and Racing Across America as well, both Friday and Saturday coming up. Really looking forward to it, and we appreciate the support of Gulfstream Park during their championship meet. They sponsor some of the programming and events here at Capital OTB, so we're happy to go down and kind of take a closer look at the big weekend, Florida Derby weekend, which should be just a lot of fun and a great afternoon of racing as well. So again, want to keep reminding you, folks will certainly tune in Saturday because we're usually there, but don't forget Friday morning, we will be live from Gulfstream Park. All right, I'm going to wrap it up for this edition of Racing Across America. It's been fun. Fun recapping a fun day yesterday, again, over in Dubai, over at the Fairgrounds. Big day for the Japanese, a really big day for Steve Asmussen and Joel Rosario as well. And we'll see what they can do out at Sunland this afternoon with their runners. But we will see at the various tracks what we can all do this afternoon. And hopefully I'll toss out a couple ideas that will cause us to celebrate cashing some tickets, because that's what it's all about. And again, be back in about an hour and a half or so with OTB Live for a Sunday afternoon. So for this Sunday morning and this edition of Racing Across America, as usual, appreciate your tuning in. And we will see you again, as I say, a little bit later on for OTB Live.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.